Hi everyone, it's Ms. Kuso. I wanted to now talk about how to write the actual single replacement reactions according to the 5 reactions that I showed you. Just to recap, there was a reaction with test tube number 1, no reaction with test tube 2, there was a reaction with test tube 3 and 4, and no reaction with test tube 5. I'm not able to get the test tubes with my overhead view of how to solve these problems easily, so you'll just have to maybe rewind if you wanted to see what the reactions look like. Now I'll start with reaction number 1. So reaction number 1, we have magnesium with hydrochloric acid, and yes, we saw a reaction. We saw that it started to bubble. So what we would end up doing to solve these single replacement reactions is we would essentially switch places with what we call the cations. So if I'm looking at the periodic table, magnesium has a charge of +2, hydrogen has a charge of +1. I'll write that maybe on the side here. So I'll write this just as a side. So magnesium has a charge of +2, hydrogen has a charge of -1, or +1, excuse me. And if magnesium were to kick out hydrogen, hydrogen would be by itself. But hydrogen wouldn't have a charge because now it's not bonded to anything. It's single. It's by itself again. And then it also wouldn't exist as a monatomic element because hydrogen, as you can recall from before, it's a diatomic molecule. It's a diatomic molecule. It's more stable when you have a hydrogen bonded to another hydrogen. And in terms of the phase of matter, at room temperature, hydrogen is a gas. How would you know that? You'd have to look at the periodic table to see the phases of matter. For me, what I end up doing is I just look at the periodic table, have, just a few around. So my periodic table, over there, it's color-coded. So everything in red is a gas at room temperature, everything in black is a solid at room temperature, and there are 2 in blue, bromine and mercury. Those are liquids at room temperature. But back to this one. Alright, so back to solving this. Hydrogen is a diatomic molecule, so we put H2, that's a gas. And now I want to make a new bond. Magnesium is now going to pair up with chloride. And then chloride, I should have written it earlier, but chloride is one of the halogens. It has a charge of -1. So if magnesium pairs up with chloride, you're going to need 2 chlorides for every 1 magnesium. So this 2 that I wrote right here is not because of Hobberfinkel. It's because I'm trying to balance out the charges here. Okay, then in terms of like final answer, this would be your final answer. And let me get a pen that works. All right, I used a highlighter. And maybe you're even thinking about when you're looking at this final reaction, something looks incomplete about it. And that's because it's not balanced. We have to follow the law of conservation of mass and matter, where the number of atoms on the reactant side have to equal up to the number of atoms the right-hand side, the product side. So it looks like if I just put a coefficient of 2 in front of hydrochloric acid, then everything balances out. And now I'm going to do number 3. Okay, so number 3, that is aluminum, and that's in a solution of copper 2 chloride. So I'm going to skip number 2 because there's no reaction, so all you need to write is just no reaction. And then with number 3, let me just move these papers and get some scratch paper as well. If I were to look at aluminum with copper 2 chloride, so that was the one where I made that brown solid, maybe just because it's right there. That was reaction number 3, right? So that brown solid. Let's see what happens. So with aluminum can then kick out copper, right? So aluminum can kick out copper in solution because it's more reactive. And that means that copper would be by itself. So copper is in solid form. Another way I know that is just by looking at the actual reaction. So if I look at the actual reaction, I've been kind of purposely being vague. I called it this like reddish, brownish powder solid. That's actually copper. Copper like this copper. Right? It's a slightly different color when it's in a liquid form. Okay, so when we're going back to this reaction, that reddish brownish powder that was produced is copper as a solid. So copper is going to be by itself. Then you have aluminum floating around in solution, and you have chloride floating around in solution. So it's no longer Cl2. Okay? This will break up. It will break up into its ions. And if I'm looking at aluminum, when it's an ion, it has a charge of +3. And then chloride from before, from the halogens, has a charge of -1. So if I were to make a new chemical formula with aluminum and chloride, it looks like I need 3 chlorides to cancel out or to balance out the charge to make it neutral with aluminum. So it's going to be AlCl3. And in terms of phase of matter, this would be aqueous. How do I know that it's aqueous? I could just look at the reaction. Okay, so if I look at the reaction, this looks like it's still liquid. Okay, so there's not a second solid formed. So it should be aqueous. And then you could look at something called the solubility rules, but I haven't talked about that yet. So that will be for a future lesson. And then maybe you're also thinking with this reaction number 3, something looks incomplete about it. That's because it's not balanced. So if I'm looking at the reactant side, I see 2 chloride ions and I see 3 chloride ions on the right-hand side. For me, I try to think least common multiple. So between 2 and 3, I'm thinking the number 6. So if I put a 2 as a coefficient here, that means I have 3 times 2, which is 6 chloride atoms. So if I put a 3 as a coefficient on the reactant side, 3 times 2 is also 6. But by putting this 3 there, by putting this 2 here, it also throws off my aluminum. So my aluminum, I have 2. So on the left-hand side, I'll put a coefficient of 2. By putting a 3 here, that now makes me have 3 copper atoms. So I'm going to put a 3 on the right-hand side. And I just double-check to make sure it's the lowest whole number ratio, which it is. So now it's balanced. And now for the last one with magnesium and copper 2 chloride. So magnesium is even more reactive than copper in solution. So this will definitely have a reaction, which we saw earlier. And if you don't remember, right over here, reaction number 4, I think it looks like the copper is at the very bottom. It's at the very bottom, or sorry, this reddish brownish powder is at the very bottom. All right, so here, put this back. If I were to now start writing some formulas, since magnesium is more reactive than the copper in solution, the magnesium is going to switch places with copper, which leaves copper by itself again, and it's a solid. It was that red-brown powder that I was showing you. And then, so if copper is by itself, that leaves magnesium floating around, that leaves chloride floating around. Chloride had a charge of -1. Magnesium, mentioned earlier, has a charge of +2. So if these guys are going to form an ionic bond, you would need 2 chloride anions for every 1 magnesium anion, or cation, excuse me, to balance the charge to be neutral, to be 0. And magnesium chloride is also aqueous according to solubility rules, which I haven't talked about yet, but you could also just look at the test tube. So if you're looking at the test tube, that looks like it's in solution. It's not a solid or anything. And I think I am done with all these reactions. So I talked about how to predict the products for single replacement reactions, how to write the formulas, and then also threw in some balancing. Thanks for watching. And in case you're wondering what this ring stand is for, it's for me to try to prop up my phone to take video. Okay, now I'm done. Thanks, guys.